decks that originated from the anime have become a bit of a running theme throughout the deck dossiers. First it was Dark Magician, then Odd Eyes, and Black Wings, which is somehow my most popular dossier? I don't know. And now we come to Cyber Dragons. Used by Zane Truesdale or Ryo Mafuruji in the original Japanese run, the deck has always revolved around explosive fusion summon plays to OTK the opponent, with Cyber Dragon Nova and Infinity coming along years later to give the deck some more modern utility. However, now that the deck has received some major versatility and consistency boost in recent months, let's have a look at them. Just like any other deck dossier, we're going to break down how the pure version of the deck works, what its strengths and weaknesses are, as well as take a look at some tech choices and other deck building decisions that go into making the deck itself. Finally, at the end of the video, we'll have a look at some replays which highlight the deck's playstyle and how it plays against certain decks, along with the deck profile for those who want it. Starting with the card that began it all, let's look at Cyber Dragon, which you'll know if you've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh for more than 10 minutes. Able to summon itself for free if only your opponent controls monsters, its entrance into the game heralded in an irreversible change in the way cards were designed. To say it's had a big impact on the game is an understatement. For the purposes of the deck that revolves around it though, it puts in a hell of a lot of work. It's required to summon any of the fusions unless you have other cards on the field or in the graveyard, which I'll touch on later. It's a free summon and outs your opponent's extra monster zone and the U-lock thanks to some of the fusions. And on top of all of that, it's almost never a dead draw. Run 3 as you'll never not want it around. Next is arguably the best card in the archetype, Cyber Dragon Core. Not only is it treated as Cyber Dragon while on the field or in the grave, but when normal summoned it searches an archetypal back row, an effect that has gotten immensely better with the last wave of support. Also, if it's in the grave and you control no monsters while your opponent does, you get a Cyber Dragon from the deck just by banishing it. However, you can only use one effect once per turn. One of the best parts of this deck is how nearly each card plays a role in boosting the consistency and power of the deck in some form or fashion. Core is no exception. Getting any back row piece is absolutely crucial for getting this deck's plays going, and since it does 400 attack, you can machine dupe it to bring out 2 Cyber Dragons when it's on the field due to the name treatment. Run 3, as it's never dead in hand. One of the new pieces of support that Cyber Dragons received this year was Cyber Dragon Hertz. While unassuming at first glance, you run it at 3 because of its interaction mainly with Galaxy Soldier, and here's why. With the same naming clause and effect restrictions as Core, its 2 effects are as follows. If special summoned, you can make it level 5, but you can only summon machines for the rest of the turn. However, its other effect says that if it's sent to the graveyard, you can add any other Cyber Dragon from deck or graveyard to hand. Now where does Galaxy Soldier come into this? Well, this piece of Cyber Dragon support disguised as a Galaxy monster can summon itself in defense by sending any other light monster in your hand to the graveyard, and that's not once per turn. And then when special summoned, you get to add another Galaxy Soldier from deck to hand. In case you haven't put 2 and 2 together, by discarding Hertz for Galaxy Soldier, you not only get another Galaxy Soldier in hand, but you can get any Cyber Dragon from the deck in graveyard as well, which can include other copies of Hertz or Core that happen to be in the graveyard, meaning you can summon that second Galaxy Soldier again easily. What this results in is up to you. If it's turn 1 and you've got another Cyber Dragon out by now, it can result in an end board of a Link 2 of your choice, Cyber Dragon Infinity and Constellar Pleiades. Or if it's turn 2 and you can push for the OTK, it provides a huge amount of materials for the likes of Chimetek Overdragon. Run 3 of both Hertz and Galaxy Soldier, as they are the 2 biggest combo pieces that this deck has. Then, along with 3 Ash Blossom to slow the opponent down as per normal, one card that I run as a one-of is Cyber Dragon Via. With the Cyber Dragon naming clause, if you summon a Cyber Dragon, you can special him from the hand for free in defense. However, you can only do this once per turn. It also boosts Cyber Dragons you control by 500 both ways, but that's largely irrelevant. The reason being is that you're going to be using this along with the Cyber Dragon you summoned to summon this in order to summon your initial Link 2, and then proceed to Galaxy and Hertz it up on your way to making your board. I found running more than one unnecessary, but having a play around with it and see what you think. And then, apart from running the one of Jizukiru to remove problematic boss monsters, the last monster I run in the main deck is Cyber Eltanen. Designed as a sort of main deck boss monster adapted from the GX manga series, it can only be special summoned from the hand by banishing all light machines from your field and grave. Then it gains 500 both ways for each monster, and if special summoned, sends all other face-up monsters to the grave. While I only ever summoned it about twice in playtesting, I still believe this is worth running as it's won me the game both times. If you top deck this, especially late game, it can single-handedly win you the duel. And thanks to a certain new piece of support that I'll mention soon, the banishing requirement no longer means summoning the card is an instant GG if the summon is stopped. I run one and it hasn't led me wrong yet. Moving on to the spell and trap lineup, we begin with one of the new support cards, Cyber Emergency. With it, you can add one light machine that can't be normal summoned or set, or one Cyber Dragon monster from deck to hand. Additionally, if it's negated, you can discard a card to add it back to your hand. This card allows you to search literally any archetypal monster in the deck, as Via, Herz and Core all count, and you can even search Eltana thanks to the first part of the effect. Additionally, if you discard Herz to add this back to hand, you trigger its effect. Run 3 as it's one of the best consistency boosters you can ask for. Another such consistency booster that I run is Cyber Repair Plant. If Cyber Dragon's in the grave, which also can be any monster that treats itself as Cyber Dragon while there, you can activate one of these effects. However, if you have 3 or more, you can activate both in sequence, but you can only activate one of this card per turn. Its 2 effects let you either add any light machine monster from deck to hand, and or shuffle one light machine from the grave into the deck. This card can literally search every monster you probably run, except for any hand traps. Yes, that does include Galaxy Soldier, which makes the Herz combo stupid easy to get to. There's not much more to say about this card since all it does is increase the consistency of the deck, so run 2 or 3 on preference. The next few cards don't require much explanation, so let's run through them quickly. You want to have 1 Upstart for consistency, a Monster Reborn for recovery, and 3 Machine Duplication is also a must for obvious reasons. You can target both Core and Herz if needs be with this effect in order to summon out 2 of the OG Cyber Dragons, so there's no reason not to. There's also 2 copies of Instant Fusion to summon Panzer Dragon to use as material for extra deck summons, and 2 Cyber Reb Systems for extra recovery plays and a bit of protection. Finally, maxing out on 2 limiter removals is an absolute must because you're playing Cyber Dragons, for God's sakes, just run them. That was a lot, but considering they have very specific roles in the deck, I didn't think lingering on those cards was worth it. So let's move on to the 3 different fusion cards that you want to run in the deck. The first, of course, being Power Bond. It lets you summon out any fusion monster from your deck by using monsters in the hand or on field as material, before having that monster gain attack equal to its original attack. However, during the end phase, you take damage equal to the attack gained by this effect. Do you want to get an easy OTK? Because this is how you get an easy OTK. Sometimes it's as simple as going for summoning Cyber Twin and attacking twice for 5600, or other times you can go into Rampage Dragon, pop all your opponent's back row and then attack 3 times for 4200. And that's before you even think about any other monsters that might be accompanying the monster you summon with this card. Run 2, as 3 can be a little bit bricky. The second fusion spell is Overload Fusion, which fuses any dark machine from the extra deck by banishing monsters from the field and graveyard. Most of the time you'll be using this as a top deck to summon Over Dragon and completely wipe an opponent's established board off the face of the earth. However, it doesn't have too many other uses past this due to the banishment aspect of the effect, so run 1. The last piece of new support, and one that makes Eltana and Overload Fusion more viable, is Cyberload Fusion. You can use it to summon any fusion monster that has Cyber Dragon listed as material by shuffling the materials from the field or from the face-up banished pile into the deck. However, only the monster summoned by this effect can attack for the rest of this turn. Almost every time I used this, I summoned Cyber Twin using monsters on the field with this effect, and this was after having already attacked with everything else, meaning that pushing for game was extremely easy. It being a quick play is perfect, as it can even be used in a pinch to summon out Cyber Eternity Dragon, which can be the perfect monster to stall until the next turn. Run 1, as it can be searched with Core. The last card in the main deck is Cybernetic Overflow, a normal trap that says the follows: banish Cyber Dragons with different levels from the hand, face up, field or graveyard, and then destroy an equal number of cards your opponent controls. Additionally, if it's destroyed by any card effect, you can add any cyber spell or trap from deck to hand. However, you can only use each effect once per turn. Originally I didn't run this, but given the searchability of the card and its usefulness turn 1, I now run 2. If you get the Herz Soldier combo, this card can give you 2 pops right in the middle of your opponent's plays, and when used in conjunction with both an Infinity and Pleiades, this makes for a very formidable field. So yeah, run 2. And now let's move on to the extra deck, and as you can probably tell from the video so far, everything here fills out a very specific role for the deck and provides most of the versatility that it has. Having the 2 Panzer Dragons keeps both instant fusions live while also providing materials for a pop, for example. However, every other fusion I run at 1, starting with Chimera Rampage Dragon. Requiring 2 or more Cyber Dragon monsters to summon, it destroys back row up to the number of materials used for said summon. Additionally, you can send up to 2 light machines to the grave once per turn to be able to attack that many more times during each battle phase this turn. Rampage Dragon is clearly your go-to monster in almost every situation when pushing for the OTK. Clearing out your opponent's entire back row is no joke, and 3 attacks per turn is really good, especially if its attack is boosted by the likes of Power Bond, Limiter Removal, or the Archetypal Link. Despite this, I only run 1, but running 2 is definitely viable. Now, do you like hitting things really hard in the face? If yes, then Cyber Twin Dragon and Cyber Over Dragon are your friends. Twin can attack twice, whereas Over Dragon, while it does make you send all other cards you control to the grave when fusion summoned, gains 800 attack for every material used, and can attack monsters that many times every turn. Quite often Twin is what you'll summon turn 2 in order to OTK a weak board, whereas Over Dragon is perfect to summon once you've baited out any negations the opponent might have in order to clear their board and OTK them. Getting 4 or 5 materials engraved to summon it with Overload Fusion is not hard, so running 1 of each of these monsters is highly recommended. Chimera Mega Fleet Dragon is perfect to clear your opponent's board, especially if your opponent has an Infinity in the main monster zone, as that way you can summon it without using any of your own monsters, which is fucking dumb, but anyway. The last fusion I run as a one-of is Cyber Eternity Dragon. Usually summoned during the later game to help stall for 1 or 2 turns, it can't be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's cards if another machine fusion is in the graveyard. Then, if it's sent to the grave by an opponent's card, either by battle or effect somehow, you can summon any monster called Cyber Dragon from the hand, deck or graveyard. Its last effect gives any fusion monsters you currently control the same protection it has by banishing itself from the graveyard. This one is different, to say the least. It goes against most of the established Cyber Dragon playstyle, but I still run it at 1 because it saved my ass a couple of times in late game while giving the monsters I've summoned either with it or the turn after the protection needed to attack for game. Run 1, but you can drop it if you prefer to run a second copy of Rampage. Moving on to the Xyz monsters, 2 copies of Cyber Dragon Nova is definitely recommended. Getting a Cyber Dragon back from the grave is what gives you access to Pleiades turn 1. And the amount of times people don't realise the second effect to summon a fusion from the extra deck if it's destroyed by a card effect is insane. Anyway, 2 copies of Infinity is also highly recommended, as it's very easy to get out, and if you lose the first one, it's relatively simple to summon a second one as well. Pair this with Pleiades, which you'll run as a one-of, and you can get a negate and a spin on your opponent's turn, and when you put that with either a hand trap or cybernetic overflow, your field becomes rather troublesome to play against. In terms of Link monsters, Hippo Shinigami is my preferred turn 1 Link, as it provides a bit of recovery if it's destroyed while also boosting your monsters by a decent amount, pushing Infinity and Pleiades up to and above 3k. Clifford Genius is perfect for going second if your opponent has a problem card you need to get rid of, as the card you negate can just be a monster that uses a material for a summon later on. And finally, if you're really wanting to maximise the chance for an OTK, Cyber Dragon Sega can boost any monster you control with 2100 or more attack by 2100, potentially pushing a Cyber Twin summoned off Power Bond up to 7700 attack, or a Rampage Dragon up to 6300 attack to attack 3 times. And that's it for the main deck. While the ratios will often be dependent on what your particular take on the deck may be, the main plays the deck can make stay the same. However, if you do want to mess around with the deck and what it can do, here are some tech options. Cyber Pharos is a free fusion summon and can set up Eternity in the graveyard, and it can also search Power Bond but only if a fusion monster you control is destroyed by battle. Nashta has the naming clause, can summon itself by discarding any other monster, and then summons back a machine with 2100 attack or defensive summoned, meaning you can summon out a Link 2 for free with this without using your normal summon, but you're then locked into summoning machines for the rest of the turn. Ghost Ogre is a good anti-meta option to complement Ash Blossom, and Dry can not only provide easy material for summons, but can also protect a Cyber Dragon you control if it's banished. Toon Cyber Dragon can also be used as a substitute for the OG, as it has the same summoning clause and provides easy summon materials. Chimera Fortress Dragon functions similarly to Mega Fleet, and is a perfect side deck option against the like of ABCs in the current meta, and Cyber End Dragon can be a good OTK enabler, especially when summoned off a power bond. Sky Strikers are also a good option for some consistency and negations, and Summon Sorceress can give you a third Xyz on turn 1, but I've left her out due to the likely proximity to the ban list. If you do want to run her, drop Over Dragon from your deck. As for some back row, Soul Charge is, as always, the perfect comeback card, and Super Polymerization is really good if you're up against a machine deck. Machina Armored Unit can also be useful for getting Cyber Dragons out of the deck when the fusion is destroyed, and Infinite Impermanence is one of the best traps currently in the game that fills a similar function to Cliffort Genius. Cyber Network is slow these days, but can be useful in the event of a grind game. And finally, since the entire deck is one type in Machine, Rivalry of Warlords can be very useful in stopping some decks that run multiple types of monsters. It's worth considering. And that's it! As you can probably tell, the deck itself is pretty tight-knit with the card design and direction being very well put together, but even though it can be a little bricky at times if you try to focus on the fusion side of the deck, it's still a very, very well made deck. In any case, I'll now hand you off to myself as we have a look at some replays that show off how the deck plays and functions in certain situations against certain decks. So as always, take it away, me. Thank you, me. We're going to jump right into the replays, guys. As you can see here, we have 6 replays. Unfortunately, a couple of ones I did want to use did get corrupted because they're up against the new Trap Tricks monsters, which as they get updated in Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro, the file changes just means you can't use them. But anyway, let's jump in to the first one here against Blue Eyes. So again, he's going to make up just, you know, a very, very silly board. As you can see here, it's just too strong. But here we got to think, okay, well, here we got to think, okay, what do we have to play against? And that is the Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon. We can get out the core thanks to Emergency Cyber, which is good because it lets us go for the Cyberload Fusion, as well as summon out 2 Cyber Dragons. You can see here, summoning the Pain's Dragon to get the extra material, go for Saga, go for the Cyber Twin, do that, give us a boost, attack twice per game. Sometimes it's that simple. As I said in the video, if your opponent just drops, you know, 1 or 2 monsters on board, you can go for that so easily. Even without the limiter removal there, we had game easily. And sometimes it's really just that simple in order to push for game. You know, the Ash Bomb to stop him, we had the Cyber Repair Plant to search further stuff if we needed to. But with Cyber Dragons, it really can be just that simple. And here we're going up against Invoked Kaijus, I believe. Ash Blossoming the trade-in because you don't want him to get the draws. He gets some draws anyway because of, you know, what he's playing, all the draw cards and all that sort of stuff. And as we're going through, he gets the Pod Desires, which is handy for him. But you can see here we've got the Alistair, which is fine. Wasted Dragon Soul to summon back a monster and an Invocation, which is okay. But you can see here we have our core and machine duplication combo, which is perfect for getting out materials. Here he comes out and pulls out the Gamma Seal, which is a problem for us because it's basically an Omni Negate just for removing 2 Kaiju counters, so we can't go for our fusion plays just yet because that'll just pump up counters, which means you can just start negating stuff left and right. So we drop our own Kaiju there. Fortunately, we had that in hands. And then basically we've just got to attack over this stuff. But fortunately, we did search out the Cyberload Fusion with Cyber Dragon Core, because that means what we can do now is just attack for game. It's that simple with Cyber Dragons. They have a lot of versatility. As I said earlier in the video, making those turn 1 plays of Hip, Hoshin, you know, Cyber Dragon, Infinity, and Pleiades. But turn 2, there's so many different ways that you can go for an OTK, and I feel as though this is just exemplifying it here and now. So up against DDDs this time, we don't have anything to sort of stop them here from, you know, making their plays. And we don't actually have that good of a hand either at the moment, which is unfortunate. But the good thing about Cyber Dragons is that pretty much any sort of draw that you make, see here, Cyber Dragon hurts. This is the combo I was talking about. But yeah, any draw you make can potentially lead to a really good field. But this is the combo I was talking about, the Hertz Soldier combo. Unfortunately, because of constraints, we don't have the opportunity to get out our Link monster first. But here we get to swallow a monster, destroy back row, and then double limiter removal. In case that wasn't clear, we got around a negate with our own Infinity, and then we are attacking 3 times for 18,800 with Chimeratech Rampage Dragon. I don't know what more you can ask for. You can ask for, you know, some extra negates and stuff like that, but again, turn 1, that's pretty much all you really... turn 2, that's all you really need, is just to be able to power through and attack the game. So here, similar sort of situation. The deck, in terms of Cyber Dragons, the deck does die a bit to negations, which is why you don't see it in the meta or anything like that, because it is susceptible to the amount of negates the deck can put on board. But if your opponent doesn't put any negates on board, or only puts on board 1 or 2, you're going to win. You're just going to be able to stomp over them pretty much no matter what hand you start with, just because of how consistent this deck is in getting out its plays. The plays aren't that powerful compared to the meta, but they're still there. So you can see here, we got the Sayuja Skull Dread, easy to take out with Chimeric Mega Fleet. Then we've got these 2 guys to deal with. This does whatever. Trading was a bait, but however you say that, I don't even know with Dark Lords. But he's going to be a little bit of an issue. So here we go. We get the Hertz set up. We tribute over and get the Mega Fleet out. And then we're going into a Hertz Soldier combo as before. Like I said, this combo is the bread and butter of the deck. You really, really can't go wrong. See, we summon out Clifford Genius just in case we need it. You know, because the trap card. Maybe a continuous spell, continuous trap, something like that. But here it's just really simple. Overload Fusion into Rampage. We got our Nation on the board, which allows us to get rid of a monster, and then we can just attack 3 times for game. Really that simple. And yeah, one of the good things about Cyber Dragons is quite like is it goes through the different monster styles, different, you know, designs and stuff like that, which I really like. Moving on to the 5th replay here, you can see going up against Trickstars. Bit more of a meta deck. He doesn't. I'm not sure exactly if he's playing the pure variant or anything like that because I don't get to see much of it. But you can see here we got the core and machine dupe in hand to go with. Fortunately, we drew into the Ash Blossom because otherwise he would have hit us with the Reincarnation Droll combo, which is why I run the Ash Blossoms. You really, really can't go wrong by running 3 Ash Blossom in this deck. It helps out immensely. He Drolls and locks us anyway. That's alright because we've got the machine dupe in hand. We can summon out the Panzer Dragon, which means you get to the Hyperstar, Cyber Dragon Nova, summon out another Cyber Dragon again, go for Infinity, suck up that Licorice, and then we can't quite attack for game, but here we've got a negation set up, we've got our Hit Shindigan set up for in case it's destroyed, in which case we'll be able to get a card back for next turn. We've got Emergency Cyber in hand, Cyber Repair Plan in hand, Galaxy Soldier in hand, so we're all set up for the next turn if we want to do the Hertz Soldier combo, but at this point, you know, when we get the Hyperstar destroyed, you know, be able to get a card back at this point. The opponent just scoops because, yeah, they're not going to be able to stop us. The back row is just, you know, a bait. But you can see at this point, like even going into the second turn, there's still so many players that Cyber Dragons can make us follow up, and it's because of how consistent the new support has made them with that spell trap lineup. And so onto the last replay here. We're going up against E-Heroes, Destiny Heroes. Again, I apologise for not being able to show off that turn 1 combo I mentioned a few times in the video so far. The replays I did have showcasing it, unfortunately, were corrupted. But here we are, really sort of simple stuff. That was what you saw there was the reason I run the VIA, because it gets you a Link 2 without any sort of, you know, normal summon being used. So we're able to then go into our core with our normal summon, get the repair plant, which then in turn adds Soldier, and off we go again. So you can see here he's got a bit of an interesting field, but that's neither here nor there because it's just a bunch of monsters. We can summon out Mega Fleet, summon out Nova, go into our Cyber Dragon, going from there. He does that to sort of set up for next turn, but it's not going to matter. It's really not. And so I'll just pause it here real quick before we down limit removal, because it's a limit removal for game. He had the problem I was in share, but even if he was able to come back next turn, we have Cybernetic Overflow, right? So we got 1 Cyber Dragon there, 2, 3 Cyber Dragons, 4 Cyber Dragons. We could potentially banish 4 Cyber Dragons with this card for 4 pops, which is just amazing when you consider. I mean, again, I dropped the limiter removal, which would have destroyed all these guys anyway, but that's only because I knew I had game, so I was just, you know, blasting through. But that's the sort of power this deck can have. You know, OTKing easily like that, and then on the next turn, you know, being able to pop 3 or 4 cards, which, no matter which way you think about it, that's no joke, especially if you do it in the middle of your opponent's players. But yeah, anyway, that's how the deck works. As I said, it is pretty prone to disruption. You know, if you're going up against the meta decks, it will lose out to those negations. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that part, and I'll hand you back to myself, and we shall wrap this video up. And that'll bring this video to an end, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, as always, leave a like, comment, hit subscribe, all that good stuff. Here's a deck profile for those who wanted it. Now, I do have to apologize. I know I said in my deck dossier update video on the Mechanites that I'll be doing a lot of content this November. I've had a really bad month in terms of some personal issues in my personal life and so that's why there hasn't been any videos. That's all seemed to have wrapped up now though, so hopefully this December I'll be getting out a few more videos for you guys to look forward to. But until next time, guys, I do hope you enjoyed this video, and this has been The Sage as always, signing out.